than the one it's in now is not going to be something that's we'll fill this room a number of days, and we'll spend a couple $100,000 in time and clearing up the mess we create if we go off in that direction. I don't think we should even begin to go in that direction till we know precisely why some of these numbers don't seem to add up, why some of these numbers don't match, and why some of these numbers before us don't give us a basis for making any kind of rational decision here at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. We can't vote on this, just as the landfill closure stuff is not a workable set of numbers, and neither is the Teeter Fund account clear as to what we need and where we need to go and how big the numbers are up here. We can get rid of the electronic agenda, we can go for EMS, approve those and so forth, but when do we come back and take seriously, rather than trusting and having faith in? We haven't used the word faith yet.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay. I rest my case.
Mr. CEO.
Well,
and then I'll go to Supervisor Smith. I'm sorry.
I think we're ready to hear a few motions, and we keep talking about the same issues over and over again. So perhaps if the chair could to take a vote on a couple of these things regarding the electronic agenda and a few of the other things, if we knew that what money you needed, again, we have a budget correction we're proposing that reduces the general fund subsidy to the solid waste budget by $50,000 and increases the revenue to the solid waste trust fund from the landfill closure account by $50,000, a net effect of zero, which clears the board for you. Then if you're willing to support that as a motion, there are 2 items left. There is one item left, of how do we come up with the funding to make additional payments to Teeter on the parking lot, which we owe you a commitment to come back to, is a complete explanation of what possibilities there are to use the landfill closure account, which will take us a little bit of time to accurately prepare for that. And then, as Supervisor Colfax said, a better explanation to all parties regarding how the Teeter Fund works. And, I think we've made great progress as far as the board understanding the significance of Teeter. I mean, we've all become bean counters here over the last few hours, and no offense to the auditor in the audience, but that was a term that people used to talk about in the old days, and wanting to make sure that we knew where everything went to. I think we're making progress. I think there's a greater understanding, just like I think we have a greater understanding of what we've gotten ourselves into with the Fort Bragg RDA. I think we've done a lot of education through this budget process, and I think there are opportunities for us to move forward in a positive manner. I just need a few motions from the board and see if we can clear the deck a little bit and know which direction we're going.
Okay, 2 last comments, and then we'll move to action. Supervisor Smith.
Well, first of all, I want to say to the chair, I think that you're doing a really good job. You're trying to bring it in so we can get to some level of decision making, even if it isn't the ultimate one. So I appreciate that. And to the CEO, I do think that we do have an understanding of Teeter. I think what we weren't provided with is real numbers to know the actual budget implications, which I think we were expecting for a final budget. So I don't really know that it's that simple. Those amounts, with the exception of Teeter on the screen, are rather small. But, I'm not comfortable with any of the landfill closure sort of 11th hour changes, because I saw county council saying, when Supervisor Colfax was speaking, concurring with what he was saying and nodding her head, and said, no, you can't take the money, or some reference. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she seemed to have a lot of resistance to that concept. Now, if the county attorney is not embracing it, I don't really want to be shifting around any amount of money from the landfill closure. I don't think it's prudent, and I don't think we've fully vetted it, and I think that if we want to take a longer term process, as the CEO suggested, and do that, fine, but I don't want to support taking anything out of the landfill closure at this juncture. I just don't think that that's a prudent decision. So on to the Teeter issue, through the chair, that $500,000 that that ended up on the board was put there as the dollar amount, assuming that it added to the 200,000 would keep us current with Teeter. It wouldn't pay down any of the debt, yet we would not incur any new debt if we just stayed with it. But that number today has just surfaced from the documents we received to be a higher number. So I would say I don't think we should take off the table the higher number, because if we do, we are undoing everything that this board has been talking about for the last 2 years in terms of falling further behind. We're not only just not paying down the debt on Teeter, we're just getting ourselves further in debt if we do not pay whatever the bottom line number, and it's now being referenced as somewhere around $1 million. And I think that we ought to have all of that on the table, because that just is the number. And if we just got the number today, we just got the number today. But 500,000 isn't going to take care of it. And it's this board is then deciding to incur further debt and not deal with it. And I think that we at least should have on the table for consideration 800,000. There it is. Because that's the reality. We may not like the reality, we may not want to make these decisions, but that in fact is the hard number. Or we can make it, I'm sure they will refine it and it won't be 800 even, but that's what we need to be looking at when we make a vote on the final budget. And hopefully we'll have a final state budget to help us too.